Welcome to the PJ Hoop Podcast. I'm your host, PJ, and if this is your very first time checking out my podcast, first and foremost, I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to check out my podcast. Today's date is February 18, 2026. It's about 1 p.m., so anything that happens after 1 o'clock today will not be featured in on this episode. And also, just keep in mind, I try to keep my episodes between 25 to 35 minutes because I don't want to misuse you guys' time, and I don't want to misuse my time. I want to give you guys the segments that I go over week in and week out. The first segment being a segment I like to call PJ's Echelon. Now, PJ's Echelon essentially it's just my power rankings. Today, we're actually going to just do my championship bubble. This would be the second time of the year that I'm doing. Actually, technically my third because I did a preseason one. We do it 4 times a year. This is going to be the third one. Then the last one will be right before the playoffs. So we'll do that. And then another segment that I go over week in and week out is a segment I like to call What's New. Now, What's New, essentially, I'm talking about some type of NBA news, some type of NBA historical history, or it could just be me ranting. Today, we're actually going to check in on some college basketball. I'll give you guys my top 30 prospects in college basketball. Another segment is a segment I like to call Games of the Week. Now, in Games of the Week, I'm talking about an NBA, high school, college, or international game that I really enjoyed watching. We'll actually talk about a game that I actually attended. It'll be the UCLA Bruins at the Michigan Wolverines. We'll close out the show today with a segment I like to call In the Lab. Now, in the Lab, essentially, I'm talking about today's NBA rookies, or I'm talking about high school, college, or international basketball. Today, we're going to actually check in on some of the prospects I have that ended up playing in that game, UCLA at Michigan, okay? So my first segment is a segment I like to call Championship Bubble. Now, I do this, again, 4 times a year. I do it in the preseason. I do it around Christmas time. I do it at this time that we're going to do today, and I'll do it one more right before the playoffs. So I want to give you guys the old one that I did during around Christmas time. This was about mid-December. So I'll give you guys those teams, and I'll give you guys my one for today. So during that time, I had Oklahoma, Denver, Houston, the Knicks, Detroit, and the Lakers were like my core. And then on the bubble, I have the Spurs and the Timberwolves. Now today, that group has shrunken. Today, I have the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're in the core. Self-explanatory. They're the champs, and they just keep going, right? They're the engine that just continues to go. They're the Toyota Camry. You know what I'm saying? Just consistent, right? Very consistent, very reliable. Obviously, they've dealt with their injuries to some of their top core guys. It hadn't mattered. They're still trucking along. I still have my worries about them defending the three, but I have faith that that will improve as now they understand how to be champions and what that takes to become a champion. I think the second half of this year, I expect them to tighten up their defense, really defending the three. Another team that I have here is I have the Detroit Pistons. So Detroit, to me, I have them here. I'm going to tell you why I have them here, because I think defensively, you can argue that they've been the best team this year defensively. I do think Cade Cunningham is a superstar, and just the way that group is tied together, I love it. I love the energy that they bring night in and night out. My biggest concerns with them is I really had liked to see them have a second true go-to option on the perimeter. That would be nice. I think also their age, their youthness, right? Haven't been there, haven't done that. They really don't know any better, which could be scary. It could make them dangerous because they don't know no better. But then also their three-point shooting, they're towards the bottom half of the NBA in three-point percentage. That kind of concerns me a little bit because in the playoffs, teams defensively will scheme against that. And then another team that's inside the bubble, pretty much the same thing. I have the San Antonio Spurs. Similar. I wouldn't say the whole second option on the perimeter thing. Spurs don't have that problem. I think the Spurs problem mainly is just their youth. And then also their three-point shooting. They're towards the bottom half of the NBA in three-point shooting as well. And their youth. Obviously haven't been there. Don't know any better. Could make them a dangerous team. I love the physicality that they already play with for how young they are. So I'm really excited to watch that defense translate in the playoffs. And then obviously they have a superstar in Victor on their team. Another team that I have inside the bubble, and actually, this is actually my last team inside my bubble, and that's the Boston Celtics. Boston, they're in this bubble all year long, has defined and has, for sure exceeded expectations across the board. Shout out to Jaylen Brown and what he's done. Shout out to Joe Mazzulla for the system that he has in place. But my biggest concern for this team is their 2-point percentage and them making quality twos, because they're towards the middle of the pack, towards the bottom in field goal percentage. So that's something I'll be paying attention to in the second half of the year. But then also Tatum, right? Tatum's obviously the black cat and the elephant in the room, right? Like, does Tatum come back? I think for me to feel confident with keeping them in my bubble going into the playoffs, I really would like to see Tatum play about 20, maybe 25 games is what I'm hoping for, at least 20 games. And to see, obviously, the last 5, him look somewhat like himself. I think if Tatum can come back and be 85, 90% of himself, I think Boston for sure could see themselves in the conference finals or the NBA finals. And off that premise alone, I have to put them inside my bubble, because if he comes back and he does hit the points and hit the check marks that I'm looking for, Boston is a legit threat. And Jaylen Brown's playing like an MVP level player right now, so you can't ignore them. And they've been there and done that, right? So can't ignore them. And then my teams that are on the bubble, I actually only have 2. One is the Denver Nuggets. Denver was my favorite at around the Christmas time. I came on here, I told you guys that. I feel like injuries has kind of just robbed this team of what they should be. And I put them on the bubble because I do believe, if healthy, this team is still very dangerous and very scary. But they're also on the bubble because injuries have just kind of taken away my hope for them as well, So, and then another team I have on the bubble, my last team I have on the bubble actually, is the Cleveland Cavaliers. For me, Cleveland, defensively on the perimeter, I don't really like the idea of Donovan Mitchell and James Harden in the playoffs. But I think offensively in the playoffs, it's going to allow James Harden to be the third option, kind of what he was like in Brooklyn, because he's going to be able to elevate Evan Mobley, elevate Donovan Mitchell. And obviously, we've seen how Jarrett Allen was playing going into the break. If James Harden's going to be your third or fourth option, this is a championship team. So I can't ignore that. But for right now, I got him on the bubble because James Harden, playoff James Harden, is a question mark. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what kind of playoff James Harden I'm going to get, right? So that makes them such a, middle of the pack championship bubble team for me. So if James is going to be your third or fourth option, they're solid. So also, you can also put Evan Mobley in this conversation, right? Is Evan Mobley going to show up in the playoffs as well? We'll see. So Cleveland for right now is one of my bubble teams. So those are the only teams that I have. You guys let me know down in the comment section below. What teams do you have in your championship bubble? And, who do you actually have in your core championship favorites as well? I contemplated some other teams. The Knicks, I don't know why. I just always get this weird feeling about the Knicks. Something is off with the Knicks. I don't know what it is. I don't know if Karl Towns, I don't really like using players as scapegoats, but is Karl Towns really the long-term answer to being their number 2? I don't think so. But the Knicks should be here, but I'm not believing it. I don't trust and believe in them. Don't believe in the Lakers. I really don't believe in the Rockets. I think the Rockets, outside of the whole, accusing Kevin Durant of the whole burner account, which I don't know if it's true or not. Don't really care if it's true or not. I just don't believe really in the Rockets either. I think the youth, I think also I think they really need I don't know, man. Houston's weird because some of the pieces on that team don't fit in my opinion, but also may just be them missing a point guard, like a real true point guard. Maybe it's just that. I just feel like something is off with Houston, right? And I haven't been able to pinpoint it quite yet. But once I do, I'm going to let you guys know something's off with them. I know I don't like how and it was something I was worried about. And I told you guys I was worried about it in my preseason, that I feared that maybe these young guys would defer to Kevin Durant a lot. And I felt like that's what they've been doing a lot during the year. Alp hasn't really taken that kind of jump that I was anticipating him taking. Amen still can't shoot threes. Free throw percentage has improved, so that's promising for the years to come. But he still is not shooting threes. There's just certain things about this team that Jabari hasn't really taken much of a leap either. I don't know. Some of these other teams I'm just not. And then the Minnesota have their own problems too. They need to figure out who's going to be their true number 2 next to Ant. But yeah, I feel pretty good about my bubble. You guys let me know down in the comment section below, what what teams are on your core and who do you have on your bubble. My next segment is a segment I like to call What's New. Now, What's New, normally I am giving you guys some type of NBA news, some type of NBA historical history that was made over this last week, or it could just be me ranting. Today, we're actually going to check in on college basketball. We're entering kind of a pivotal point in college basketball season, in my opinion. We're not that far off from starting the conference tournament, and then after that, we have the NCAA tournament. So I thought, why not? Let me give you guys my top 30 big board. Understand this too. Take this with a grain of salt because some of these players we know are going to go back to college. But then also I didn't include really any international players except I think I have maybe one on here. But I mainly didn't include any of those players because I don't know if they're actually going to come over or not. And I have talked about some guys overseas that I think are pros. So if you're interested in knowing that, you'll have to go back and check out some of my other episodes where I'm highlighting international players. I usually do a crazy big episode during the summertime if you want to go ahead and check that out. But understand, like I said, take this with a grain of salt. We'll do this again probably the next time I'll do this. I usually do it before the NCAA tournament. I'll give you guys my top like 10 or 15 players that I'll be watching out for during the tournament. But then the next time we'll do a big board like this will be after the NCAA tournament is the next time we'll do this. Probably right before the draft lottery is when we'll do this next. But okay, let's just start. I also want to give you guys kind of the parameters that I like to use too. So some of these players you're going to see are going to be higher than somebody else. So I'm going to let you guys know. Somebody who I think has more value today may be higher than somebody with more potential. Okay, in plain and simple terms. And we're not going to spend a bunch of time on this, so I'm going to try to go through this as fast as possible while also giving you guys a little bit of details on why I have somebody in that spot, okay? So number one on my big board, just like I said, as of today, because this is a progressive list because I'm a progressive man. I'm not a perfect man. Today is Darren Peterson. I have Darren Peterson here, and I have reserves about him. So I'll tell you my reserves about him first. So my reserves about him, not really the injury thing because injuries, you can't really predict that. But I'm not going to say that's not a super big concern for me. Obviously, it's in the back of my mind. But my main concern, honestly, is just his jump shot's not falling. He kind of disappears offensively, and I really don't like that. But I have him number one because I think he's an elite shooter. He's elite at creating his own shot. And the way he processes the game, when you're watching him play, I watch him process the game so quick. Like he goes to his second and third moves so quick. And to me, that's just so advanced. And you either got that or you don't, right? And he got that at a really young age. And then defensively, he's a really good defender. Whereas my guy number two on my big board is not as good defensively, in my opinion. But yeah, I have DP number one. I do have reservations because I feel like he doesn't make his teammates better. That something worries me, but I'm hoping that improves as we go for the rest of the year. And they got some really good games coming up, so I'm going to be watching to see how he navigates those games. But he's number one on my big board. Potential's there, and even value is there. I think value, God forbid, even if he doesn't develop any better, he's going to be a sharpshooter in the NBA, and he's going to be a sharpshooter defender. Whereas obviously his ceiling is a 3-level scorer. An all NBA offensive and defensive player. So he's number one on my big board today. He may move down though if I don't see the playmaking improve and also see more offensively him making an impact. Number two is AJ DeBonsa. He's number two on my big board. I love how I wrote down for him, I wrote king of the court. And what I mean by that, I just feel like he knows his spots. He stays within his spots, free throw line down. He works that mid-range very well. Defensively needs to improve, in my opinion. I love how he does make his teammates better, at least in my opinion. I think he's a really good passer. I think he's a very good passer, actually. But I just need to see him defensively improve and then continuously working on his jump shot is something that I need to see from him. But I love his aggression. And number three on my big board is Caleb Wilson. Caleb Wilson, to me, he's the ultimate glue guy. 2030s. He's the ultimate glue guy, right? He's the next generation of just being an ultimate glue guy. I think you can put Caleb Wilson on any team today in the NBA, and his impact is going to be felt immediately. He has an elite motor. I think he just needs to continue to work on his scoring off the dribble and his shooting, which I have no doubt for because he has a mentality like very few in this draft. And to me, that mentality can't be taught. You either have it or you don't. Number four is Cam Boozer. Cam, for me, I think needs to be the system at the next level. Fundamentally, he's mature. He has a very much understanding of his own body and how to use his size. Cam defensively has a pretty good defensive actual IQ. I just think his problems could come with defending quicker guards in the pick and roll. But otherwise, I like Cam. My player comp for Cam is Kevin Love. He reminds me at least of Kevin Love. He may be slightly better defensively than Kevin Love, but I like Cam Boozer. Cam's number 4 on my big board, though, because I feel like his floor and ceiling, again, his floor and ceiling are not as high as the other 3 up top. So he's number 4 for me on my big board, but I really like Cam a lot. I do. Number 5 for me is Darius Aguff Jr. To me, he's the best floor general in this draft. He controls the game. He's very mature in his passing approach. He has a good frame and is very solid. He's solid enough on defense. I like Darius. I don't like the way he shoots the ball, but it goes in. His free throw percentage tells me he's a solid shooter, and even from 3, he's shooting really good this year too. But I like Darius. For me, Darius is number 5 because I think again, I'm very big on making your teammates better, right? Like, to me, if you're going to be a top 5 guy, I think you need to be able to make your teammates better and really impact the game, like vividly impact the game. And my top 5, I think all 5 of them do. Darius is 5. Number 6 for me is Kingston Flemings. Let me go a little bit faster because time is running. Kingston Flemings is number 6 for me. For me, it's a very good and very competitive on defense. He's a very good defender. He's a 3-level scorer, very solid handle. I think he just needs to bulk up. I like Kingston Flemings. He's number 6 for me. Number 7 is Keaton Wagler. Keaton Wagler, same thing, 3-level scorer. He's quietly a good passer. I think defensively he needs to improve, especially defending out of the pick and roll. And I think right now he plays at an NBA kind of level and pace. Number 8 is Hannes Steinbach. Number 9 is Yaxel Lindenborg. And I have Yaxel here because Yaxel's one of those players where I think his value is much higher than his potential. So that's why I have him at 9, because I feel like drafting him at 9, it's like you're guaranteed to be safe with him, right? Like he can be your number 4, number 3 option on your team, and you'll be fine, right? I think his ceiling's a number 3 option. I think his floor is a number 4 to a number 5 option on a team. So I like Yaxel. Number 10 I have is Dalen Swain. Number 11 is Mikael Brown Jr. Number 12 is LeBaron Filan. Number 13 is Nate Ament. Number 14 is Braden Burries. Number 15 is Jaden Quinnis. Jaden would be a lot higher on my board, but he's just had a lot of injuries, and that's extremely concerning. Number 16 is Chris Sinek Jr. Number 17 is Morris Johnson. Number 18 is Malik Thomas. 19 is Koa Pete. 20 is Tunde Yusufu. Number 21 is Flory Budonga. Number 22 is Kareem Lopez. 23 is Bennett Sturts. 24 is Cameron Carr. 25 is Braylon Mullins. 26 is Christian Anderson. Number 27 is Alex Caravan. Number 28 is Abuka Okori. Number 29 is Killian Toure. And number 30 is Joshua Jefferson. And then a couple other 2 players that I kind of was considering for number 30. One is Deshaun Montgomery. He's a defensive 3-and-D player. I was considering him. And then Tyler Tanner of Vanderbilt, too, is somebody I was considering here. But again, take this with a grain of salt. Don't overthink it. Again, after the tournament and everything, I'll give a more refined top 30. Hopefully we have an understanding of what European guys are coming over. Not even European, but international guys that are coming over. And then also we have an understanding of what college kids are going to stay in the draft and who's going to leave and who's going to go back to school, okay? So take this with a grain of salt. You guys let me know who's in your top 30 and who do you have on your bubble. My next segment is a segment I like to call Games of the Week. Now, in Games of the Week, I'm talking about some type of NBA, high school, college, or national game that I really enjoyed watching, or a game of some type of significance. I'm going to talk about a game that I actually attended myself. It was the UCLA Bruins at number 2 Michigan. Michigan's number 1 now, but they were number 2 at this time. I just want to talk about this game very briefly because it was a blowout in the second half. But First half score was 40-38. And in the first half, in my opinion, I felt like Michigan came out very sloppy and just kind of just going through the motions. Overall, they had really good ball movement, but I just felt like they're just being really sloppy. They had a lot of fumbling of the ball. And they're the reason why UCLA stayed in the game. UCLA in the first half, Trent Perry was playing very good. Their big man, Tom Balo, I forgot his name. Something with a B. But he's like upperclassman. He played really well in the first half. Trent Perry played really well in the first half. They had it going. Those are the two players that really kept UCLA in it. But also I feel like Michigan for sure was enabling UCLA to stay in the game. Yaxel, Morez, and Elliott all really had very solid first halves. And shout out to, his last name is Johnson. He comes off Michigan's bench. He had a really good first half. He really popped to me too. I didn't know anything about him, but he really popped to me. And even this last game of theirs I watched, like he was popping again. So I think he's going to play a big role in March for them coming off that bench. Second half, truly, it was all Michigan. Michigan won the game 86-56. They dominated them in the second half, shut them down defensively. They turned the water off. And yeah, it was all Michigan. But basically to me, I think as much as this pains me because I'm a Duke fan, and it pains me to say this, but I feel like the national champ is either going to be Michigan, Arizona, or Houston. I think Duke's a close 4, but I just don't like our guard play for Duke. I just don't. I don't know. I just don't believe in our guard play, and I want to. I really do. And I'm hoping as we go through the conference tournament and before the NCAA tournament, I feel better about it. Because before the tournament starts, I will come on here and I'll give you guys kind of like my official, who I think is going to win and my Final Four and whatnot. But I think most likely is going to be Michigan, Arizona, and Houston. I feel like all three of those teams are just deeper than Duke too. I don't really like the players we have coming off our bench that much. I mean, I love our power forward. What's his name? I like Malik. I do like Malik. But I don't know. Outside of him, I mean, Caden Boozer's okay. But I don't know. I just think these other teams are deeper. Really Michigan. Michigan for sure is deeper than Duke. I think Arizona's deeper than Duke. And I do think Houston's deeper than Duke. So I just don't like our odds in March. I really don't. But we'll see. We'll see. Like I said, maybe my sentiment will change as I gain more information and understanding, But I think most likely it's going to be one of those three teams that are cutting down the nets. But you guys let me know down in the comment section below, what game did you guys really enjoy this week? And what games are you guys looking forward to this upcoming week? So I want to give you guys my games that are upcoming this week that I'm looking forward to. We'll start off in the NBA. So Thursday, we get a rematch. We get Houston at the Hornets. Remember, the Hornets beat Houston like last week or the week before. So I'm looking forward to watching. That's Thursday. Also, we get Atlanta at Philadelphia on Thursday. Also on Thursday, we get Pistons at the Knicks. Saturday, we get Rockets at the Knicks. Sunday, we get Cavs at the Thunder. Sunday, we also get Boston at the Lakers. And then also Sunday, we get Philadelphia at the Timberwolves. And then Monday, we get the Spurs at Detroit. And then in college basketball, the games I'm looking forward to. There's some really good games today. I just don't know if I'm going to upload this in time for you guys to hear what games I like today. But we're going to skip today's games, go to Saturday. Saturday, we got Miami at number 14, Virginia. Also Saturday, we get Tennessee at number 19, Vanderbilt. Saturday, we get number 4, Arizona at number 2, Houston. Also Saturday, we get number 1, Michigan versus number 3, Duke. That's going to be played in Washington, D.C. And then Saturday, we get number 6, Iowa State at number 23, BYU. Unfortunate for BYU, Richie Saunders is out for the year, so that kind of sucks. Also Saturday, we get number 5, UConn at Villanova. We get number 21, Louisville at number 16, North Carolina. Unfortunately, no Caleb Wilson in that game. And then also Monday, we get Monday, we get number 21, Louisville at number 16, North Carolina. That's on Monday. I'm sorry. And then also Monday, we get number 2, Houston at number 8, Kansas. That's on Monday as well. You guys let me know down in the comment section below, what games are you guys looking forward to and what games did you really enjoy this week? My last segment is a segment I like to call In the Lab. Now, in the lab, I'm talking about today's NBA rookies, or I'm talking about high school, college, or national basketball. Today, we're going to check in on some of those players from the Michigan and UCLA game. On UCLA, I really like Trent Perry coming out of high school. Last year, didn't have a good year. He's having a better year this year. He's most likely going to go back to college next year, so I'm not going to talk about him. And there's really nobody else on UCLA that I'm really interested in talking about. But we'll talk about the Michigan players. One is Yaxel Lindenborg. To me, Yaxel, he's kind of a Swiss Army knife, in my opinion. He reminds me at least of like a mixture of like Christian Woods and like PJ Washington is kind of what I wrote down for him. He's a physical player on both sides. And I like him as a third ball handler in a lineup. Sometimes maybe a second, depending who's in the game. I think also for him, the thing I'll be watching out for is him continuing to improve, shooting off the dribble. But I really like Yex. I mean, I told you guys, he's number 9 on my big board. I really like him as just a like buy low type of guy. Like I think he's just going to be very steady in the NBA. So that's why I got him number 9 on my big board, because I don't think he's a miss. I don't think he's going to be a bust, right? Like you can't miss on him. I think his floor is really high. One of his teammates is Phillip Johnson. I think Perez, for me, I wrote down Montrezl Harrell. I feel like at Michigan, he doesn't really get to show offensively what he really can do, but he reminds me of Trez. I think he can really bring that bruiser, that physicality down low with some finesse. I think he can guard, though. I think he can guard way better than Montrez ever could. I think Phillip Johnson can guard 1 through 5. I think he has great feet and great length. So I'm excited to see if he decides to come out or not. I'm assuming he will. But I really like Phillip Johnson, as he might be a draft sleeper for me. We'll see where he lands and where my big board finally, like my final big board is. But I like Phillip Johnson as a player. And then the last player is, I didn't write down his first name, so I'm sorry if I botch his name, but I think it's Ade Mara. For me, I think he needs to go back another year. To me, he's just slow. I think if he did come out right now, I think at best, he would be a backup in the NBA. I think that's like best case scenario. I think if he's your starting center, I don't think you're getting anywhere with him as a starter, in my opinion. That's just my personal opinion about him. I'm not too high on him, personally, not at all. I think he's really slow. And I think at the NBA level, he'll get gobbled up in pick and roll, because he played a lot of drop coverage in the games that I watched. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't really like him that much. I think he's more of a college center. But if he comes out, he will be at least a backup because of his size. But I would not want him being my starter. You guys let me know down in the comment section below. What players have you been enjoying watching? And what is your take on these 3 prospects that I just covered? Other than that, thank you for watching my episode. I'm your host, PJ, and PJ's out.